Welcome back.
We're back again.
Yeah. Welcome to another episode of the Car Cranks. You may know.
Dodgee Bruce.
Yeah.
Still cranky.
Still cranky. Let's give the government conspiracies a rest this time, maybe. Maybe.
We'll see how we go.
Yeah.
Can't promise anything, but we'll see how we go.
So, I've got a couple of topics here that we were going to talk about, possibly. And I reckon... Okay, let's start it off with this.
Yep.
Sedan or wagon?
For me,
Yep.
is it a daily driver or a special
Can be
vehicle?
whatever you want. Your personal preference, whatever. Doesn't matter.
If we only had sedan or wagon, I'd probably go the wagon.
Yeah?
I'd probably go a panel van, but you don't say that to me. But yeah, wagon.
Wagon.
Just more stuff. You know, I do some camping, which is why I have the F100 Ambo. Ambo, great. Put everything in the back when you get there. Drop it all out.
Massive in the back, those things.
Drop it out. There's your bed ready, and that's it. You're done, and you can tow. So it's just so much you can do. If I had a wagon, which I have got a AU wagon that I'm currently trying to get registered, fixed up, it will be a camper.
Okay.
Just the fact it's a wagon, and not like a whole weekend. Maybe a whole weekend. I don't know. I'm still looking to see if I can get a cheap rooftop tent.
Oh, yeah.
The weight on the wagons is, people are going, oh, you can't put too much weight in there. It's car sitting, it'll have a rooftop tent, and there'll just be me on top of it when it's not moving. So it should be fine.
That should be alright, yeah.
Or I'll be sleeping in the back, because there is enough room. I can actually lie down in the back of an AU wagon.
Yep.
Whereas I've got an XJ panel van, I'm that much short.
Really?
My feet hit the door.
Really?
Yeah, I have to leave the doors open so my feet can hang out. Because
Interesting.
behind the seats they got the steel barricade.
Oh, yep, okay.
Yeah, it's not clear through. They've got that steel partition, bulkhead. So yeah,
Okay. Well, I'm definitely a wagon guy. VF Calais V wagon, which has been accommodation on 2 occasions for me. So,
because you can.
yeah, because you can. And the thing is that, you know, you park up, and this was for the Lemons racing events.
Oh yeah.
And
Rather
rather
collie, so
exactly right. So it's cold, and rather than
and the racetrack is nowhere near the actual township,
no,
so you can't just you could, but you drive
people did,
off and out into the town to go to sleep, or you sleep on site.
yeah, and that's what I
And
typically
that's
do.
where all the fun happens. So
Yeah, that's what I typically did. Well, we all did, and that was the thing. You know, there were 6 of us, and they were.
what
setting
in
up-
that?
No, God, no, don't be silly. No, they were setting up all their swags and tents and whatever,
Yeah.
and I just had my swag mattress in the back,
Yep.
sleeping bag, pillow, done.
Yeah.
And that was
Cold.
was the Thursday, Friday, and the Saturday night, and went home Sunday,
What time do you?
mid-year. So yes, cold.
Oh, okay.
But you run the heater a few minutes before you go to bed. It's lovely.
And then you fall asleep and you don't care if you freeze because you can snuggle up in your
Oh no, well the sleeping bag's good too. So I mean, I never really had a problem with feeling cold in that car in those situations. And no wind, or even if there was wind, it's not like I
Mid-year,
felt
it's
it.
not really windy. It's not until you get
It's just cold.
yeah.
It's just cold.
It's
And-
stagnant, just cold air. It's not.
Yeah,
Wind chill factor of -10, like it was a couple of months ago.
definitely cold.
See, with the Effie, what I did is I got the insulation in that you put in between your walls, like your thin insulation
Oh yeah,
under my
like
bed.
your Dynamat stuff,
Yes.
or whatever it is. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
kind of
Like that.
aluminium foil sandwich
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
That's what they put in the insulation, and it's like thin stuff these days. They don't have the thick wadding stuff. It's just thin stuff. They sheet your roof like that stuff there on your roof.
We'll have to show you a photo.
Industrial roof, silver aluminium type thing with sandwich.
Yeah.
I underneath my bed because then it's only I got being an old ute wagon, whatever. It's just wood.
Right.
Yeah, it can get pretty cold. Your heat just gets sucked out. Whereas with this thing underneath it, it radiates it back up so that
Much
cold
like
air
how
doesn't come
space
through.
blankets work.
Yes, except this is a nice big piece that fits right to the back of the Effie.
Yep.
And my mattress is like huge, and it just sits on top. It's great.
Yeah. Actually, space blankets, I mean, that was
Doonas.
always an amazing thing that
Yeah.
never ceased to amaze me, how a piece of reflective plasticky stuff could radiate your heat back at you so effectively.
Yeah.
Just don't put them in the fire.
No.
I rolled onto a fire one night and it caught fire
Oh.
while I was sleeping.
Oh.
And
That's not good.
No, not really. And I had to be woken up. It's like, oh, you're on fire. Okay, that's not great. So
You couldn't tell you're on fire?
no, the blanket was burning, but I wasn't. Luckily, it was just a blanket burning at that stage.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't like on fire myself.
Oh,
but I was
hopefully
told I
you
was
would have
on
known
fire.
by then. So yeah.
Well, yeah. I think I would have woken up feeling
We got
quickly.
3rd-degree burns. Yeah.
Being on fire is something you'd kind of notice, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You'd hope. Yeah.
Yeah, you would hope. Yeah, no, I hadn't had too many beers or anything like that, so I wasn't oblivious. I was up and
Good thing about the Effie is you park it away from all that, because then at the back of the Effie I have a gazebo, and that's the cooking area. So I have the table set up with all the cooking gear on. So I'm miles away from any source of
fire.
ignition points. The gas heater, of course. So it's fine.
That makes sense. It does make sense.
And it's great because I literally just walk in the back, take my shoes off, close the door, done.
Yeah, and I think that's
And
where
that,
the wagon.
as you said, a wagon, that's what you, in this AU wagon, that's exactly what I'd do. Crawl in, shut the lid, done, I'm home.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a wagon, and I could go out for like an overnight, or at least when we do some overnight photography, astro meetups. Wagon, go out, sleep in it. If I'm too tired, because you don't start until after it's dark, like way after it's dark before you do any of the astro and whatnot. So of course you're up all night doing this stuff. So last thing you need then is like 3 o'clock in the morning. Oh, I'm going to go home now.
No.
I'm just going to crawl in the back of my wagon and fall asleep for a while. Have a little nap.
How far away do you drive for that sort of stuff then?
For me, because I live in the boondocks down south, it's only half an hour to the other side of the Peel Estuary, south of Mandurah. So it's probably about 80 k's from where I am.
Okay. Yep.
And I'm in Baldivis, so that's,
Yeah,
so you go Mandurah, which is... Oh, what is Mandurah? Can't think now. I think Bunbury is 100 k's from Kwinana.
Is it? Oh, that's probably about right. Yeah.
So it's about 50 k's from there. So
We're
yeah,
getting
about
very
50.
local here, by the way.
Yeah. That's the closest,
Okay. All right.
because it's too close to the light. Even there, you get a lot of throw for light from around
okay.
Pinjarra, the mine sites around that area. You still get a lot of light come out, but you can still, just for training, to do something, you can still go down there and take some good photos. Otherwise, out bush.
That's one thing I must admit, is that when you're out in the middle of nowhere and there's not a single other light source around, and you look up and there's all you can just see is sky.
Millions
It's
of lights.
amazing.
I remember when we... Where was I? I think we were going over to Canberra at one stage with Mark from Bogan and Proud, doing the Bogan and Proud thing at Summernats. So we drove over for Summernats, and I don't know where we were, out in the middle of somewhere over the other side of Nullarbor, because we took turns driving and sleeping. We had nowhere to sleep, so we literally slept in the passenger seat.
Right. Okay.
But every now and again we'd stop and pull over because you don't want to drive, and literally just nowhere, and it's just look up, holy crap.
Yeah. It's
It
amazing.
wasn't dark, it was lit up, there were stars everywhere, it was lit up with stars, and it's like, wow, you don't see that very often.
No, you
Like,
don't. Not when you live in the city. You don't see it.
in the middle of, I think it was outback New South Wales, like the other side of Murray Bridge, where South Australia and New South Wales, somewhere just after there, we stopped just along the side of the road, and I looked up and I went, it's absolutely pitch black out here.
And
And
fantastic.
stars are great. And I'm getting the camera gear out, taking photos, because yeah,
And fantastic.
it's just awesome. It was the wrong time of the year because Summernats, beginning of the year, no Milky Way core. It's already down the other side of the country, so you can't do your Milky Way type shots because it's just the wrong time of year. In fact, now's the wrong time of the year.
Yeah.
so-
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it's gone. It's usually mid-year, so which means it's cold down this end of the world. So it's just, but yeah, stars. You can do star trails and that sort of stuff, and maybe some foreground exposure of dead trees and stuff. So there's always something you can shoot.
Yes. So in other words, wagon.
Wagon.
And that's the reason why I think pretty much every four-wheel drive that's actually a proper four-wheel drive has a wagon body.
Yeah.
Because they're just better.
I mean, and now that the aftermarket putting drawers and cabinets and stuff they make to fit all this stuff, it's made. Oh, you're buying a Land Cruiser, you want this pull-out drawer system. It's made because it's a wagon.
Stuff and
it's a wagon, so you can make it. Yeah, you can't sleep in it anymore. Hence why you've probably got a rooftop tent. But everything's pre-made for a wagon, so you got the camping gear pull-out drawers and everything else with your solar panel and conversion and everything in the back half, because that's what you do with a wagon.
Well, you see so many of those cars that are for sale here in Australia, because a lot of people, like in particular European tourists, will come, they'll buy something like that and then go around Australia in it.
Yeah.
And they'll have a tent separate to it, or they'll have swags or something like that. So they'll use that as their, I guess, their base, where all their food and cooking and storage and stuff like that is kept, and also it's their transportation. And then they'll have a tent that's separate that they'll set up to sleep in. And
tent or rooftop or
yeah, perfect. I mean, why not?
3-second outdoor tent or something like that. They'll or even a pop-up gazebo, and they'll have a above ground bed.
Like one of those stretcher beds or whatever.
Yeah, stretcher.
Yeah.
Stretcher, mattress. There you go. You're off the ground. You're sleeping, and you in a gazebo with roof and sides on it, or sides. You kind of out of the elements. And you pucker on next to your wagon. There's your cooking and everything else. You're set.
Yeah, it's nice. It's definitely good. And this is the sort of country you can do that stuff in.
Yeah, because even winter, it's freezing, but you don't freeze to death. You're not an icicle because the snow's this high on the ground like over in Europe.
No.
You know?
That's, I suppose, the big thing, isn't it? It's like, it takes far longer to die or to get too hot to have heat stroke and stuff like that, to die from that exposure, than it does to freeze to death. And that's one of the big things, is that's why kind of we're the lucky country, that the weather is conducive to a lot of outdoor activities. I mean, yes, okay, we got the snakes and the insects and all that sort of stuff, but the fact of the matter is that, well, it's not like we're the oldest people in Australia. People still alive, but no one's been, stung to death by some sort of sea creature or something like that, because they're everywhere.
It's all been documented, so you know what to look out for. So you're kind of right there. And depending on how you do your expedition, you go from, say, Melbourne to Perth in the summer months, then you go up to the top end when it's not hot, although it'll be wet, but you're not 45 degrees like at Marble Bar this weekend apparently.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
45 degrees. So you're not going to fry in the middle of nowhere, because you try and head up the top end of Australia during the winter, the mid-year. The mid-year, because then at least you're not going to die from heat stroke. I mean, you might drown.
I reckon October is about the right time of year to start doing that sort of stuff.
Well, it depends how far you're going to go.
Yeah,
you're going to go around Australia, it's going to take you 6 months. October's gone.
Oh, well. So anyway, okay, so back to cars. So wagon, not sedan. What about ute versus wagon? So we're talking about like things like BT50s, Tritons, Hiluxes, that sort of stuff.
I'd probably go ute.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because if I'm going to go to ute and I want to go camping, I'll get a rooftop tent. But then in the ute, I can store everything in the back.
Okay.
Now it doesn't have to be made to fit inside the confines of a wagon. I can just throw it all in there and tie it down.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, because
the fact that you can.
It's a compelling argument, and the thing is that if you look at the way a lot of cars are marketed or made or whatever, there is usually some sort of equivalent ute or wagon-based product. Like for example, Mitsubishi with the Triton, the Challenger is a Triton with a wagon body.
Yeah.
It's the same car basically underneath. And Toyota Hilux, they did back in the 90s, they did Hilux Surf, which was basically a Hilux,
a two-door
with the wagon back on it or whatever, or the 4Runner and all that sort of stuff as well. So
exactly.
Yeah. And
I mean, depending on what the use is, I mean, a ute would probably be a little bit better, because no, you can't sleep in it, but you've already allowed for that by having a rooftop tent or something.
Yeah.
But then you can use the ute for everything during the day, taking the rubbish down the tip, clipping lawn clippings, or picking up wood to put in your fire, like I have to do. That goes in the daytime, and then I'm going away, clean it all out. Take the plastic liner, clean it out.
Gotcha.
There you go. Throw all your niceties in the back, and then off you go.
So
and most of them these days are 4-door utes,
Yeah.
Which means if it's only you and your girlfriend or whatever, the back seat is for your food items and whatever.
Yeah. So if your usage ute, I would probably still go wagon. And the reason for that is that there are occasions where I transport stuff that is valuable. And if I park the car somewhere, I can hide it. So no one knows what's in it.
4-door, because I can then put it underneath the back seat or whatever.
Yeah, but some stuff like...
Still inside the car, locked up.
This VF Commodore wagon has had several very large TVs in it before, and you can't put those in the back seat of a 4B.
Oh.
You can put one in there, but you couldn't stack them.
Yeah.
That's the thing, whereas you can in that, and if it's covered over, you can't see it. There's dark tinting and stuff like that, so I can park it and no one knows what's in it.
Yes.
And that's why wagon for me. But I completely understand the ute thing, because having had the use of utes before, in particular like 4-wheel drive utes and stuff, yes, if you want to throw something in the back, you just throw it in the back, and there it is right there. But if you want it to still be there afterwards, when you've parked it and come back to it...
Down at local beach where all the idiots come past and drive
you might
by.
not necessarily have it still. So, yeah. But look, definitely, I think equally they are the correct answer, but for different reasons.
Yes, exactly. Hence why I have one of each. I have the ute, I have the panel vans. I actually have 2 panel vans. I have the XJ panel van as well as the XH.
I do rather like a Pano.
And the FE and I have the wagon and I have a convertible and a myriad of other cars because I can. Because I'm single and I don't have a missus saying, you don't need all these cars, why don't you sell them? And the old thing is, oh, if you don't like that, why don't you sell her and get the cars? I did! I got rid of the missus and kept the cars.
Whereas, oh my god.
Whereas everyone else goes, no, I'd like to have a missus to cook for me sometimes. I don't, I just go to the server. That's what fast food's for.
Ladies, he's available.
I'm like,
well, luckily for me, my wife doesn't care one bit about cars and where it is.
There's the thing. If you can find one of those, keep them because
And in actual fact, one of the things is that my wife Sasha, bless her, when her last car died, which is a car that's still here, it's a Mitsubishi FTO. I'll flash a photo up. Needs a new engine. And I've got the engine, I just haven't done it yet. Actually, a workshop was supposed to be doing the work for me. That's another story entirely, we won't get into that. But suffice it to say, the car will be back on the road at some point soon. And I've got everything I need to get it done and stuff like that. But when that car went, she obviously wanted to replace it with something, and she didn't want to spend a lot of money on a car. And I was quite prepared to, get her something nice and much newer. And no, $5,000.
Okay. Did she specify any boundaries that you had to keep in, like a wagon or a ute or?
Not too big.
Okay.
Okay. So what was originally going to happen, and my idea was that I was just going to give her this.
That would be too big because it's a Commodore wagon. That's the biggest car you can get besides a Ford.
Yeah.
Hobby.
But that was the thing. Is like I'd said to her, "What about you just drive this around every day, and I'll fend for myself with MR2s and the Scorpion and stuff like that." And she thought, "Nah, it's a bit too big." But she was very sold on the wagon idea because of this VF Commodore wagon. Because you can have, and I have had, 2 large dogs in it, one in the back in the boot, one on the back seats. They're separated, and they've got their own little environment, and they're very comfortable. Okay. Not only that, but I can also have 3 back seat passengers plus a large dog in the boot, or shopping, or cargo, or whatever, and that was the thing. And she was very sold on that idea, so she ended up with a mid-2000s Mazda 6 wagon. And we were talking about this in the previous episode.
Yeah, so not as big, but the same...
Same idea. So wagon.
Alright, so you got on the wagon, she just wanted a smaller.
She just wanted a smaller wagon. And the thing is, those cars, and we did sort of touch on this last episode, but those Mazda wagons, the Mazda 6 in particular, I think the wagon is not... I don't like the look of it the most. I think of the 3 variants of that particular car, the wagon is the least attractive look. But it is definitely the most practical.
Okay.
The wagons are super rare as well.
I always thought like the old shooting brake, the Chrysler 300Cs, their wagon, the back comes down. So it's not wagon-ish because it's actually, the back's lower than the front. So it's like not wagon-ish, not utilitarian looking, but more...
No, it's a style thing.
Yeah. More style to suit that rather than just...
Yeah. Which is why things like, your VF Commodore wagon, your Volvo V70s, Nissan Stages, same thing. I love Stages actually. I have one. I do regret selling that actually, but the fuel bill was terrifically high.
Yeah, it'll be 25. Yeah. Okay.
Well, it was a Skyline wagon with all-wheel drive, RB25, heavier. And yeah, it wasn't great on fuel. In fact, the best, if we're going to talk about, we get talking about cars now, this is good, we're on topic. We're talking about fuel economy and stuff like that. That would give me around the city about 360 Ks to a tank in a 60 odd litre tank. So not great.
Kind of like
it was quick and it was very good to drive. I love that car. There were so many things I loved about that car, but it didn't make sense to keep it because I wasn't driving it regularly. And the worst thing was that it didn't fulfill every need that I needed. Like I needed a tow car. They don't tow.
No, I wouldn't.
You can't get them to tow. Or if you do, you have to re-engineer them, and then you need a specific tow bar and stuff like that. They're not really set up for it. Yeah. And this is why Commodore wagon, because it was just an easier option.
Kind of like the Ford deal with the Ford and then the Territory. It's literally Ford underpinnings jacked up with a big heavy body. Great car. Fuel. Oh,
no.
Because it's just a barrow motor, and it's like another half ton on top. It's like, ugh. Great, but the fuel. I mean, the nice cars and everything else. I'd love to have a Territory, but it's just the fuel is ridiculous.
Yeah, and that was the thing. All right, well, actually, let's talk about this. We're going to talk about fuel economy now. Give me the worst fuel economy in a car you've ever owned. Which car and what it was like. Okay.
It has to be the F. I mean, it's on gas. But I'm talking 351 Clevo.
So what's that? This is an F100, isn't it?
Yeah.
F100 ambulance chassis?
Or custom.
I mean, ambulance body, isn't it?
Ambulance body attached to the body, not separate like some of the later model 85 and onwards ones where the cab's separate to the thing. So you can, if you really want to rip off the what's the name, you got a U. No, these are actually combined. So it's one. They grafted the. Paul Warner in WA made these, so they're grafted onto the body.
I thought they were body on frame.
No. Oh yeah, body on frame.
Yeah, but the whole body.
But the fiberglass body is attached to the metal body.
Okay.
It's not separate like the later model ones are.
Oh, okay.
It's one piece, and that's
different.
That's a bit of a problem, and it is heavy, and it's a 351. It's a 40-year-old engine in a
351 is Cleveland.
Well, this is you can get Windsors, but this is a 5.8 litre. Yeah, I mean it's on LPG, which I got to get rid of because you can't get that anymore.
You can't.
It's shocking.
I thought it was everywhere.
No,
they're starting to phase it out or something, are they? Really?
Yeah, the government have just hiked the price on it so much now. They're just going, nah, we don't care. We're selling it all to overseas, to China or whatever. So you don't have it because we can make more money by selling it. So they've rafted the tax that we get it at. So it becomes at the moment I think it's $1.10 a litre, and it's only $1.40 or $1.50 for petrol. So it's nearly 3/4, at least 2/3 the price of petrol. It was never supposed to go over half.
And then the other thing, of course, is that you
and
don't
it costs
get anywhere
thousands to
near
redo the tanks at the servos, and the servos going, we're not making any money off this stuff, and it's going to cost us $10,000 to certify one of the tanks. No,
you don't get anywhere near the economy out of LPG either.
It's like half to 2/3.
Yeah, I was going to say like
I had never that great, but
I had a '94 Jeep Cherokee, and
it was cheap.
Always loved those cars. '94, the XJ series Jeep Cherokees. Brilliant cars. Love them to death.
They had the 4 litre straight 6?
4 litre straight 6 Chrysler engine, yep. So Jeep product. Ancient engine.
Was it the HO engine?
I don't even know. No, it wasn't high output. Oh, actually, yes, it was. Yes, it was a high output. But I mean, the high output is ridiculous because it's like 150 kilowatts or something like that. Whoop-de-doo. It wasn't even a cross-flow engine.
180 standard.
That's what I mean. It wasn't even a cross-flow engine. They're ancient in terms of technology. And they didn't change them. No, you couldn't kill them. But the thing was that it had very bad fuel economy around the city. So 16 litres per 100 k's on fuel. And then, it was dual fuel, so it was LPG as well. And the LPG worked, but then you didn't want to drive it on LPG.
More gas to... Yeah,
you didn't want to drive it on LPG because it would never last that long. Yeah. Then you put it on fuel, and you've got to run it on fuel every now and then to make sure that you don't burn the valves out and stuff in the engine.
Yeah.
So you find yourself thinking, this is a pretty terrible idea, why have I done this?
Yeah.
But I love the cars. And I would, in a heartbeat, own another one, but just the fuel bill I don't know. There'd have to be some.
Well, see, you're at the stage
enhancements
now where we could just go, oh, we'll just put another engine in because there's a plethora of other engines to swap into it. That would be more suitable for it.
LS,
a diesel engine of some sort, a 6BT, a 4BT.
They did come diesel. They were 2.8 litre inline 4-cylinder with a manual.
Would that be a 4BT cousin?
I have no idea, but they were very, very slow. It's like 86 kilowatts or something like that in that car. Manual.
Do a swap.
Turbo diesel. So you could effectively tune them up a little bit, but from out of the box they were...
Yeah. See, these days it'd be a lot better. I'm sure there's people overseas in America that have gone, we've got just the kit for you, and they could redo it. Or they say, no, 4BT Cummins, just swap it straight in, and we got a conversion kit.
Got to say though, the XJ, and the reason it's like, I don't particularly like big cars. I mean, I've got a big car, but that was necessary. There was no getting around that.
Even a Stager isn't that big.
Not compared to that, it's not. No. The cargo space actually in the Stager is similar though, which is interesting. The reason for that is because this has a relatively high floor, whereas a Stager doesn't. So the Stager is actually taller in terms of cargo capacity, but the width it's a little bit narrow. Anyway, I don't really like big cars, and the reason for the Jeep Cherokee is because it's a small off-roader, but it's like the smallest proper off-roader you can buy without going to something like a Suzuki Jimny or Vitara or something like that. Yeah. Or a Daihatsu, was it Feroza and Rocky and stuff? Because they're still proper off-road. They're still good off-road. Yeah. It's not like a RAV4 or anything like that, or a CRV.
Yeah, a soft roader.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I went for that. You know, hilariously as well, right? That Jeep Cherokee, which was about 100 kilos less in weight than this VF Commodore, with a 4-litre engine, had a better towing capacity, official towing capacity. So your Commodores and stuff.
That's right.
Yeah, no, they're unibody, exactly right.
Oh, unibody.
They are unibody, those things. All those XJ Jeep Cherokees are unibody.
So they're not separate chassis?
Nope. They had a bigger... Which is why they are so very good off-road. If you put, throw into Google or even YouTube or whatever, XJ Jeep Cherokee off-road, you watch these things and the flex they can get, where they can go, because they're short, because you can put pretty much anything on them or under them or in them or whatever. Yeah. They're amazing. And they turn it into rock crawlers, and they're doing 40-degree, 45-degree, inclines or bigger 60-degree inclines. It's ridiculous. These things are amazing. But I don't like the bigger cars. But the VF Commodore range of stuff, 2100 kilo brake towing capacity. XJ Jeep Cherokee, XJ Jeep Cherokee, I'll learn how to speak one day, 2250 brake towing capacity. It's had a better towing capacity.
Oh, okay.
But that tows a hell of a lot better than an XJ Jeep Cherokee, that's for sure.
Yeah,
the Jeep was good, but it was just...
Because that'd be wider than the Jeep Cherokee, wouldn't it?
That's wider, yeah.
That'd be wider.
It's wider, it's considerably longer, it's not as tall, but that's why I love the Jeep. In fact, I really liked that car. But it just didn't make a whole heap of sense with a gigantic gas tank in the back, and it was at the stage where I was going to have to start spending a lot of money on it. The fuel economy was not great. It would tow, but it was very slow, and I suspect that the engine was ready to sort of go and keel over. And I mean, it wasn't giving me any problems, but it was just getting to that point where it starts to feel a bit tired. Like it's not...
And a design that engine for so long, so old, it's like you can only keep it alive for so long before it's like, the new generation is a completely different engine, a crossflow engine even. And
this is the problem as well, is that if we were in the US, you could do pretty much whatever you want. You can go and buy another engine because there's probably junkyards still full of these old cars. Yeah. Here, no. They get recycled, they get thrown in the bin, and that's basically that. And they only come in one car.
Oh.
That engine only came in that car. Okay. Now we had them from 94 to 2001, and they underwent a mid-run change, but the engine was largely the same. They improved, I think, the inlet manifold, so it had a bit more power and torque.
Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it had E5. Yeah. No, it wasn't
carby.
No, but they started as carby.
Yeah.
It's an 80s engine. Yeah. Actually, it's a 70s engine. I think the 79 was the first year of that engine. You can feel free to feel free to correct me, whatever. But yeah, they had those in all of because the XJ series Jeeps went from like 83, I think it was,
I think so.
in the US.
Very
we got
popular.
them in '94, so
Very popular.
and we only ever got the 4-door one. They got 3-door ones over there. Cherokee Chief,
Oh, that's
3-door, like the Shorty Prados and Land Cruisers and stuff like that. Same idea. So yeah, 3-door rather than the sort of 5-door wagon thing. But yeah, love that car. Love the Jeep Cherokee. But it just was getting to that stage where it was too old to sort of be a worthwhile proposition, I guess, for what I wanted. You know, reliable, relatively economical, but towing capable transport as well, which is why Commodore. And I didn't want a 4-wheel drive. Again, because I mean, you look at things like
unless
Prados
you
and
go
stuff.
off the road all the time, like every time you go away, you go, oh, we're going down Tim's Thicket or somewhere off road. You don't need a 4-wheel drive. I mean, I've seen some guys with their AUs and whatever, and they jack them up and put 32s on them, and it's off road.
What is it? The RTVs or whatever.
RTV is the Ute.
Yeah,
But
that's
people
right,
are doing that conversion or similar to their wagons, to their AU wagons.
Okay.
And they look great. I mean, they're jacked up. They're all monstrous, 32-inch tires or 31-inch tires on it, jacked up with room to spare on 31s, and they're still going to town up in the bush there with them because they can. Because they're not as heavy as a 4-wheel drive. So even though they're in 2-wheel drive, they put a limited slip in it because the RTVs had a locker diff, which are very hard to come by. But you can still buy a third party a locker diff,
Right.
and put that in it, and off you go. Go wherever
Why
you
not?
want.
Why not?
Because they can. Because the AUs do marvellous things. Apparently.
Well, yeah. I mean, that was the big thing. Is that I suppose really. All right. Let me ask you this: wagon or 4-wheel drive?
Wagon.
Okay.
Because I don't 4-wheel drive.
Okay.
And if I wanted to, I'd do what the AU guys do, and I'll just jack it up and 31s, tyres.
So you wouldn't even consider getting rid of it and buying some sort of 4-wheel drive then? Okay. Interesting.
Just one, you got the car, so there's half the expense already there. No point selling a good car to buy another good car to do something that the other good car could have done a lot cheaper.
Oh look, you don't have to preach to me. I mean, that absolutely is something that I agree with 100%. But the fact is that when I bought this VF Commodore, the choices were things like Toyota FJ Cruiser, they're alright, not great on fuel though. A Prado with like 250,000 Ks, because Prados hold their value ridiculously, honestly, or any sort of Land Cruiser, or a Pajero, which they're a little bit, I don't know, I didn't have a whole lot of faith in the sort of newer, around the same sort of price range Pajeros.
Pajeros still have the Mitsubishi Magna engine in them, so
yeah, well the
3.8.
well, was it 3.8? Yeah, 3.8s were the last ones, weren't they? So 380 engine, whatever.
same engine. In a big
And then,
ass truck.
then things like the Challengers and Tritons. So the wagon versus the Ute, or the Hilux versus what's the Toyota, the Hilux wagon thing called now? They've got a name for them. It's not the 4Runner. It's a newer one.
Ranger.
No, that's
all the
Ford.
same.
Well,
It's all the same.
Ford Ranger and BT50, Mazda BT50, the same car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the new Mercedes off-road dual cab Ute. It's a big
Oh, that X class.
Yeah.
That's a Nissan Navara.
Is it?
Yeah, and they are dreadful.
Yeah.
They are terrible cars. Feel free to disagree with me, but you're wrong. No, they are terrible. Terrible.
But it's a
terrible
Mercedes
cars.
off-road, dual cab. They look nice, but they're not a Mercedes.
There's an episode of Top Gear where the three boys ended up with 4-wheel drive Utes, and one of them had one of those X-Class Mercedes, and they was doing this with the actual world body, moving it.
Oh.
Flimsy. Poser off-roader.
Yeah. It's your business model. One saying you own a business, you need a tax write-off, but you don't want to spend a lot of money. Buy the Mercedes.
We're still spending money.
Because it looks good.
You're still spending money.
Yeah, but you've written it
a
off in
Navara.
tax because it's not a Navara,
Yeah.
but it's a Navara. It's tax write-off, that's all it is.
Well, I mean, all you've got to do
Fleet vehicles.
is look at to see if they're still produced. Are they still being made? No. It was a failed experiment. Everyone saw through it, and all of the reviews of those things were terrible. Like, yep. Why would you buy this? And I've seen a couple of them around where I live, because it's to quote my friend Blair, who's been on a previous episode, bourgeoisie, so middle class, and
in a city suburb,
and they're around, and it's like every time I see them, I just feel like stopping them people and saying, "Why? Why'd you buy that? Why? You've made the wrong choice here.
Why'd you waste your money?
Put it in the bin and buy a real car." Yeah, so it's just one of those things that I look and I think, yeah. But anyway, yeah, back to that. So four-wheel drive, again, I don't go four-wheel driving. I've been four-wheel driving with a couple of friends and stuff as a passenger. It's fun, especially when your mate in his BT50 has like one wheel. He's got the car in a ditch and the left rear wheel is more than a metre off the ground. Because, you know, you can do that sort of thing, you know, and then he just drives out again. That's good fun. But like a boat, I feel a four-wheel drive is best when someone else owns it.
Yeah.
Like a boat.
I mean, I like to tow. I mean...
Yes.
I need to tow because I've got so many broken cars and I pick up broken cars, so I need to tow them.
Yep.
Jono's Falcon Ute, BA Falcon Ute. It's lifted. He's got the V8 version.
Oh, yeah.
Tows everything. Everything everywhere. That's all you need.
Auto or manual?
It's an auto.
Wasn't there something
about...
about...
260 V8, 260 cube horsepower. The 260 V8, BF, Mark II, or the BA
that?
Mark
That's
II.
5 point...
No, 5. That's just a 5.
litre.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
260. I've got the 5.4. Sitting on the floor at home that I was going to put into the Effie. It's a 5.4 3-valve Triton motor, I think they call it. It's the moniker of that model engine, Triton.
Yep.
I got the 5.4 sitting at home. So apparently the everyone has their opinions. They yeah or no. 3 valves are good for low end torque, whereas the 4 valves are the one the Mustangs have. So high end,
right, power and
high end has 4 valve.
3
valve is for your torquey stuff. So, but he has just the standard 5.0, and it's just got a good note to it, and it just tows just well.
Yeah.
And it's just a Falcon Ute. He's got a canopy on the back, a corporate canopy, so flip sides, aluminium type thing.
Yep.
Throws the stuff. He goes bushing it. You know, he's in a wheelchair. He goes bushing it. Everything.
Oh,
it's
outstanding.
fine. And that's all he needs for towing. I mean, why would you need a full drive? You can use anything literally to tow. The wagon, his ute. I've got an AU ute at home that I've got RTV suspension, factory RTV suspension to go into it to lift it up to do exactly that same thing as his. He's a Falcon Ute that can tow anywhere.
Okay.
And I put a rooftop tent so I can go camping it, and it'll just do everything.
We're on camping again.
Yeah, it's a camping episode too.
Another one. Well, okay, so back to the original point then. Worst fuel economy is your...
The Effie, because it's a
F100?
big ass old V8.
Okay.
On a big heavy body.
My turn.
Okay. The FJ.
Toyota Crown.
Toyota Crown. What, the
Toyota
7M GT, was it the 7M motor?
4M.
4M.
So 1977,
Oh.
2.6 litre, carburetted, 3-speed auto, Toyota Crown. Now, the worst thing is, of course, is that in 1978, they brought out the 4-speed and they were that much better than the 3-speed.
Yeah.
But, having said that, what I had, can't change. It was brown. I'll flash another photo up. You've seen it before. You'll see it again. Here it is. Bang. Lovely. And the thing about that car was, it was hipster's delight. Hipsters, I would drive through Mount Lawley and stuff like that. They'd be like, oh, yeah, and give me the thumbs up and stuff like that. Now, I liked it because it was one owner previous to me. He'd bought it new. He would buy more expensive stuff that was newer and stuff like that, and then go back to driving the Crown again. Old Italian bloke, and I think the family owns half of Wangara, which is an industrial area in Perth, in the northern suburbs of Perth here in Australia. And they would always say, you know, why are you driving that thing again when you've just bought a brand new Mercedes or an Alfa Romeo or something like that? So, oh, I like this car. Now, admittedly, the car had everything. It had power mirrors, power windows. It had
Power aerial?
Power. No, the antenna was actually built into the A-pillar.
Oh.
Very fancy, very Japanese. It had 2 air conditioning units, one for the front, one for the back, so you could specify what climate conditions you wanted in the car. It had rear seat remote control for radio and volume, and for the aircon.
It almost sounds like a Century.
What's the step below the Century? That's the thing. So the Century at that time was just that next step up with the bigger engines and stuff like that. But this was 6-cylinder, 2.6 litre, and not much power. And you would forgive it for having terrible fuel economy if it was fast. But it wasn't.
Yeah, and the 4M...
That absolutely had the worst combination of slow and not good fuel economy ever.
Yeah.
350 k's to a tank, 73 litre tank.
Far out.
Now, if it was fast again, I would say yes, fine. You deal with it, you put up with it. But that car was shocking.
Damn.
Now, admittedly, on lots of long trips, it would probably make more sense.
Yeah.
But around town, nope.
Yeah.
And I did drive it down to, like Osmond Park to Kanana or Osmond Park to Wandi, which is, sort of like at least 35, 40 minutes, 45-minute journeys each way.
50 k's at least.
Yeah, exactly. So long-ish journeys, but I wasn't doing it regularly enough. And the thing is that the car didn't make sense because of if I have it for only those journeys, that would mean that I would have to drive it then and only that, and then I couldn't have it any other time. Anyway,
yeah,
it went because someone had one as their first car and wanted another one, and I went, here you go.
Okay.
So I fixed it up, got it licensed because I wasn't licensed, and it was beautiful when I was done. And this was a car that I took to things like the classic cars and coffee meets and things like that. Always had photos of it taken, had the standard hubcaps on it. Nanospec didn't change a thing, except I put a K&N air filter in it and had it sort of tuned by a carby specialist to make it run and stop and drive and everything like that perfectly.
Yeah.
And I think I had the aircon regas as well, which you've got to do, and it was perfect. It even had a push button power boot release.
Oh, okay.
Electronic boot release.
In 77.
In 1977. Car was amazing, and this was the thing. You think about the domestic cars like Holdens and Fords and stuff like that from 1977.
2 keys, one for the boot.
They didn't have anything like that.
Nothing. No. Oh, radio tuned suspension. Is that it, Holden? RTS. yes.
Where's the power windows? What do you mean power windows? Power steering. Oh, you mean that thing we put in trucks, right? Okay. No. So that car was amazing, but it was also amazingly bad on fuel. But it looked cool. It looked really cool. And
every time I drove slobbering over it now.
Yeah. Every time I drove it, people would be like, "Oh, my uncle's friends, brothers, cousins, dad's, mum's had one of those."
Yeah.
And it was cool while it lasted. And I hope that the bloke who bought it, who lives in Albany, gets plenty of use out of it.
Yeah.
400 k's away. So, and he drove it, and this was the thing. He came up from Perth to buy it.
From Albany.
From Albany to buy it, and he says, "I know you're not negotiable on the price or whatever." And I said, "Mate, you're here. Are you going to go home empty-handed, or are you going to buy this car and we're going to split hairs over $100 or whatever it is?"
Just I've got you here now. You're stuck.
Take it here. It is.
Boy, have a seat.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Have a seat. Well, that was it. It was very comfortable.
Yeah. So once you get in there, you forget about $100. You just go, "Oh, I want this. I want it." Yeah.
It's just delightful.
Salesman technique. Just get him in the car. Just
sit down. And I even gave him an old GPS that I'd updated to the latest maps and stuff like that. I said, "This will get you home."
Well, there's only 2 roads to go down there. Inland to coastal.
Doesn't matter. I sweetened the deal. He took the car, and that was that. But yeah, that car, like overall fuel economy wise, terrible. Absolutely shocking. Again, you could forgive it if it wasn't. If it was faster.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else that I have. Oh, I mean. Soon, it could be. I've got an old Jag. Twin carbed Series 1 XJ6. That could be shocking on fuel. I'm not sure. Anyone got Jags? Tell me that. It's probably why they put them over the 350 sheds, because I can see that one being a bit of a lead. Because they are heavy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Everything about those cars is heavy.
Freaking heavy. I mean, we tried to pull onto the trailer because it didn't run. And it's... Oh, Jesus. It felt like 3 ton. But it wasn't. It was only just over 2 ton. It's still over 2 ton for a Jag. An old Jag. It's like, Jesus Christ. Yeah. This is 1971. Yeah. Why is this over 2 ton?
But you can
drive and then you go, oh, I can see what's over 2 ton.
But you drive it and you're like, yep.
And I'm just about to get it on the road. In fact, the only reason I can't get it on the road, one, it's unregistered, and 2, the carbies, the twin carbies, it's a bitch to start.
Is it?
Absolute bitch. You pull the choke out, and you turn it for 10 minutes, and you put it half in, you turn it for another 10, then you do 3/4, and then a quarter, and a third, 2/3, and eventually it'll start. And then you have to sit there for 15 minutes to get it warm to whatever. Then
Carb is in Solando.
I think so. Being 20 SUs, it's just a pain.
Hose trick.
Well,
you know the hose trick, right? Yep.
Yeah. I'm going to... Well, you can do better things now than just a hose. You know, we're not in the 70s now. You can buy these things. They're called vacuum things, and they tell you.
It sounds expensive and maybe unnecessary.
Yeah.
What's wrong with a piece of garden hose about that long?
But, yeah.
You can hear it. So are you going to fix that yourself, or are you going to...
No, I'm going to get someone to tune it at least.
Carby.
Just to get the carbies sorted out and to balance them. I'll get someone else because I just couldn't be bothered. And then it runs. It's fine. I just then have to go, right, okay, but the tyres, maybe, I don't know, I have to look at a rot on them. The leather is completely...
Is it?
Yeah.
It's leather and European cars just...
It. And the thing is, it's not thin leather, but it just seems to just vanish in the Jags.
It shrinks.
No, it just goes.
Oh, really?
There's nothing left.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just gone. There's these big patches of nothing. It's like, where'd the leather go? I mean, I had that Merc, and literally that Merc would just curl up and stab you. It was so hard.
Oh, yeah.
Any leather it would just stab you. So, this is not how you treat leather, and rip you a new one if you sat down on something that, because no one conditions leather in their cars anymore. Whereas the Jag, there's nothing. It's gone. It just disappears like ants. So I'm just going to put get some custom seat covers put on it because it's a lot cheaper than doing an interior.
Yes.
And go ta-da.
Oh, well, as long as you get it running. All right. So, what about the best fuel economy you've had in the car? Best, cheapest car to run? Oh. Given how many cars you've had, this is going to be an interesting thought process, no doubt. You'll have to weigh out the pros and cons. What about that Barina? Yeah, I'll start you off. Your Barina.
The old Barina or the Honda XL?
The Barina. I didn't know a Hyundai XL was a Barina, but okay.
No, my last car was that Barina that was turbo. The Honda XL that was turbo that I took the turbo kit off of. Two-door coupe that was slammed on its guts and went like a pair of shit. Just
we're talking about economy here. So which one? I know about the Barina. I didn't know about the Hyundai, but that's
Barina.
okay.
Is that the one that had the bent dent bonnet with the sticker in the middle?
I think so, yeah. To cover up
ages ago.
Yeah, well, you know.
Wow.
We have known each other for a while.
Wow, that's so old ago. That was actually really economical.
Any
of those small little 1400, 1500cc engines, but the Barina would just go and go and go. Yeah, you turn the stereo. I think I had two 10-inch subs in the back of that thing, and the whole panels would just shake. Yeah.
Well, look,
but it would just. I could do like a whole week on $20 worth of fuel, just driving around. It was just, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, XL was kind of close to that, except the fact that it wasn't a stock engine anymore, so it ate a bit more fuel and the fun factor of it, so I always put my foot down. So
yeah, that's the thing, isn't it?
Fuel needle just go down because it's just like, oh, this thing rips. Even though it was a Honda XL, it ripped.
Fair enough.
But yeah, little domestic Japanese cars, just unbelievable.
Again, that brings us back to the previous episode of cheap and reliable Japanese.
Yeah.
So, because the Holden Barina is actually a Suzuki Swift. So yes. All right. Well, for me, 1993 Mitsubishi Lancer Coupe.
The CC? Yes.
With the 1.8.
Oh.
Yep. Not the 1.5. 1.8.
Okay.
So 1.8s were fairly hard to find then.
Yeah.
Nearly impossible now.
I remember working on the CC, I think it was like early 90s Lancer, a CC coupe, and I had to change the clutch on one. Brilliant.
Yes, easy.
And then someone brought me a Pulsar Q or something, same year, vintage.
Oh, yeah.
Oh!
No good?
Twice as many bolts.
Oh, okay.
It was, skin knuckles, a lot of swearing.
The Lancers were very, very simple
Lancers
cars, though.
Easy.
Yeah.
It's like, I've changed the clutch. Well, this is why your clutch ain't one. You'd go to your son, didn't you? It's booed out.
Yeah.
It was easy to do.
I would get, I reckon, with banging around the city, doing short trips and stuff like that, I think I once calculated the fuel economy overall on a tank to be around 8 litres per 100 k's. That's including me driving enthusiastically, short trips, freeway runs, you know, just basically belting it around. Because, I mean, it wasn't like every single gear change was red line, but I wasn't slow. And the thing was, is that car was very fun, because it's 1.8 in a small car. The car weighed 890 kilos. So, with that in mind, with two-door and the zippability of it, it had good suspension in it.
Like
I
my XL.
loved that car.
Yeah. I
loved
never did
that
the
car.
XL, but I know that it chewed more fuel than a Barina would.
Yeah.
But it was fun to drive. Same thing. It still had this, I think, a 1.5. It just wasn't stock anymore.
Yep.
But it was just cheap and cheerful and just went. Just off you went. I mean, things broke on it because the plastic like door handles and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well.
But the view out of it, I had a BA Falcon, and I could see more out of this little XL than the BA Falcon because the headline on the BA was higher, and XL was a two-door.
Yeah.
So the door was back here.
Yes.
Whereas the Falcon, it's right here. Freaking 8 beef pillars right there.
That's
it's
actually a good
oh,
point.
I can't see.
In
but
that
on the
most
Hyundai,
cars...
and the Hyundai actually had more shoulder room
There
than
you
the
go.
Falcon. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah. But that's the interesting thing is like, I've owned far more two-door cars than I have four-door cars, and one of the big things about the two-door cars is, because the doors are so long or wide down the length of the car, you have better visibility out of the side, and then you've got, you know, A-pillars and stuff like that. The only drawback, obviously, for a lot of two-door cars is that rear visibility can be quite crap, depending on what configuration it is.
Yeah.
And, I mean, if you take case in point, my MR2, the rear visibility is pretty terrible because the rear window is literally this tall and there, and you've got very, very thick B pillars that are sort of moulded and sculpted and stuff like that. But that Lancer with the B pillars wasn't actually bad at all.
Yeah.
It was actually really good. And equal to that, I would say, actually that brings me on to another question for you. Of the cars that you've owned that have been modified, what did you love the most, or what do you miss the most you regret selling?
I regret selling the XL.
Okay.
It was just time for that thing to go. But the fact that it wasn't a stock XL, it was dumped on SS rim coils. Like, this thing was low.
Right.
You couldn't put your hand in between the tyres. It was low. And it was stiff. And it just handled like a sled. Just
Yeah.
unbelievable. And even though it had a standard engine size, it wasn't standard, and it just went. And you just rev the ring out, and people going, "What are you doing?" And
Did you ever dyno it?
Huh?
Did you ever dyno it?
No.
No.
But I had a turbo kit as well that was taken off because the turbo wasn't matched to the computer, so the computer always didn't read it as it had a turbo. So as soon as I got on boost, it went,
Yeah.
what's going on? Putting you back into slow mode. But it would just rip. It was fun and cheap and
So one of
engine
the
fuel.
three-door XLs?
Yeah.
So the like
2000 of them.
like
It was a
okay,
Series
so
3. It was a X
right
X3, I
before
think
they
it
went
was.
to the Accent or whatever
Yes.
it was, because in the rest of the world,
Yes.
we had the Accent. It was called the XL before it became the Accent. So because all those cars everywhere else have the Accent.
Yeah.
That's what they're called.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're all called Accents. We got them called we called them XLs. I don't know why, but yeah,
Because
same
you had the
car.
Series 1, 2 and 3, then they went to... Because it was basically a
Accent.
round bubble.
Yes.
And then the Accent wasn't.
Was a bit more sort of squared off and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Although it was a nicer car, it wasn't... Completely different cars.
yeah, exactly. right.
Heavier and more stuff on them, but yeah. But the XL, I had the Series 3, the X3, just brilliant. I mean,
And the
cheap and
3-door.
nasty if you
They were
broke,
good.
but
These are the cars they race in. There's a racing series in Australia
Yeah.
called the XL Cup.
Yeah.
And that's the car they favour.
Yep.
That with the twin cam engine in them,
Yep.
they love them. They love them.
brilliant. And they all used the X3, the last of that model.
Mm.
Everything just worked. It just went. And with the twin carbs and twin cams, and it just they just go.
Yeah.
It's like there's so many fun things you can have with them, and that was a really nice car. Yeah, it couldn't do much else. I mean, as a daily to go back to work and back and around, fine.
Yeah.
Just fun. Anything else? No. No. I couldn't tow with it.
Well, of
It had a
course
tow
not.
ball, but
Of
because
course.
the car was so low compared to standard, if I put a box trailer on, the box trailer was sitting like that.
Yeah.
Which is kind of pointless when you try and put something in the back end and it just slides towards the aid frame. It's like, well, that's no good. How can I get shit out of that?
No.
It was just useless in every other manner that I wanted to do. Like I needed a ute, I needed a tow car. I needed
Yeah,
to,
right.
carry more stuff. And a little 3-door is not that big. I mean, yeah, open the boot and there's a lot of room, but
the load carrying capacity wasn't there.
Yeah.
No, I understand that completely.
So,
well, for me, it would be I had 2 of these cars, Proton Satria GTI. Remember those?
big butt.
I'll flash a photo up now.
Big butts.
No, not really. Not really. No. Nah. They're not big butt. It's not a Renault Clio or a Megane.
Bigger than big.
Well, no, it's not that. Well, see, the Proton Satria was actually the CC Mirage.
Yeah.
But they stuck some body kit and stuff like that on it. And then Proton got the Lancer GSR motor, which is a 4G62 1.8. And they recompressed it, took the turbo off, and made it naturally aspirated and stuck it in the front of these things. So the early Protons, like a lot of other car manufacturers that are not as old as, the other Japanese marques and stuff like that, they start off with a car that is bits of lots of different things. Like Great Wall did it, where they've got like things like Triton diffs and Hilux gearboxes and stuff like that.
Sanyong had the Mercedes drivetrain.
Exactly right. So stuff like that. But that's what this was. It was a hotted up Mirage with like, wheel flares and Recaro seats and all that sort of stuff. Fun car. The first one I bought, they were both actually for the girl I was seeing at the time to replace her Mini Cooper S. And she needed to downsize and go cheaper and stuff like that. So these cars were quite cheap back then. If you can find them now, good luck. I probably have another one actually. But yeah, the car that I regret selling wasn't the first one, it was the second one. Now the first one was naturally aspirated, standard, just different wheels, and it was good fun. The second one had the Lancer GSR motor in it with the turbo. And it fits straight in. And it like it was meant to be in there basically, because the front of the car is exactly the same as the car that it came out of, and 220 front wheel horsepower. Oh, and the car looked terrible. All the clear coat and everything was peeling off it, but that car made me absolutely giggle every time I drove it because it was just so fast. And probably the most fun thing about that car was the fact that you'd get in it and people would look over and, some guy in a much faster car would look over and go, what a piece of crap. And it did look a bit bunky. But then it'd be like, watch, gone. And he'd be like, what the hell was that? And yeah, that's the consequence of a car that weighs just a shade over 1,000 kilos, having 223 front wheel horsepower. That's the car I regret selling the most, because when I sold it, it got sold to someone else, who then sold it to someone else, who then sold it to someone else, and they managed to put it into a power pole. Now, how do you crash a front-wheel drive car that handles as well as this? Because you're a moron. Yeah. That's how. And
right.
Yeah, exactly right. And I was because I actually saw the ad for it come up on Gumtree as parts, and I'm like, what happened to the car? He's like, oh, I crashed it. You're an idiot, basically. And as a consequence of that, that car is no more. But there was another one floating around at the time where it had the 4G63 from an Evo in the front of it. But they couldn't get it engineered for some reason. I don't know what the hell was going on with that car. And it became very, very cheap at one point where I was like,
Because the thing is with those now, circuit car, track cars. Everyone's looking for a track car. It'd be the perfect track car.
Cheap, fun, reliable, easy to drive, not dimensionally large or anything like that. And yeah. But I would entertain the thought of another one of those cars. But it's on a list of cars that I would look at. But I would have to say, okay, so here's a question for you. You're gonna get a track car. It does have to be licensed, so you can drive to and from the track. Doesn't necessarily have to be something that's daily driven, obviously, but it has to be small, and you can't spend more than $5,000. What do you buy?
I don't know the price of the Renault Clio Sport model. Was an R.
They're much more expensive than that. They're more like 12, 13 grand. So no, can't have one of those. Sorry.
I mean, my other track car that I actually have as a track car is another 2000 model Honda XL.
Yeah.
For off-road, for autocross, so dirt tyres.
Right, yep.
Yeah, I've still got that. I haven't touched it for 3 years or 2 years. Yeah, it's just.
But it's not licensed, is it?
No.
But it has to be licensed.
As a track car.
Yep. Track car, so you can drive it to and from. It's a challenge. I like this sort of thing. This is a fun game because it really does make you think about what's out there and what it costs, and what would actually make sense as a car like that. I have a short list. So
I don't have any list. No, because why would I register a track car when I can just tow it unregistered because I've got too many other regos to do, and regos are expensive.
Yes, they are. But let's say in the world of Brucey, Dodgee Bruce, that you don't have 150 cars on your property, that you've got maybe a couple of cars, and this is like well, exactly.
This is a nightmare waking up.
Yeah,
oh, 1, 2 cars, I can't handle it.
2 or 3 cars, and cheap licensed car, reliable.
MX-5.
Good choice, definitely. Good luck finding one for $5,000 that's licensed and running and reliable. But yeah, if you can find it, yeah.
Well, they're the ultimate bloody club car, aren't they? You can use them for everything. Throw an LS in it. Yeah, it's your big horsepower car. Turbo the what do they call it? The motors the
BP1, BP16 or BP18.
Yeah.
1.6, 1.8s. Yeah.
Turbo that. There's your mid-range car will cover everything else. So it's like there you go, and you're fine. Of course, yeah, finding that because they've all been driven to death.
Or people want $12,000 for a car that used to cost $5,000.
Yeah. That would cover just about everything. Unless you're stupid and go buy a bloody Beamer like I have. There's another thing. A lot of people get an old of course you can't get an E30 anymore. So your E36s.
Good luck.
E36, maybe an E46.
Good luck. What you mean, like any E46?
Yeah, like that one just up the road.
Oh,
yeah, 2-door. You know?
318 or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah, 318. Same as the engine that's in mine. It's the M44, 1.9 litre. People put turbos on it. People supercharge on it. The engine starts at where the strut towers are, and it's a mid-engine car. It's
front mid. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 50-50 weight distribution. Brilliant. You get 6-cylinder, it destroys everything. You've got more power, but they're putting whatever engine into the Beamers to do track cars. I mean, legally you couldn't register that, but if you get the original motors, as I said, turbo kits, supercharger kits, whatever, Beamers rev. They love to rev.
Yeah,
and they're cheap. Old Beamers.
Well, there's
registered daily. There's your
under $5,000
upper spec, and there's your
there's your under $5,000.
Yeah.
You could conceivably find
an old Beamer,
an E46 318 for around that price.
Yeah, look at the auctions. There's a heap of broken ones there. You just spend a bit of money, buy another broken one with something different broken, and make one car, and you got yourself a club car. Because people have been doing it. Look at Europe. Like a lot of their club circuit cars are old.
Yeah, absolutely.
Old BMWs exactly right. Or old Volvos or whatever.
Well, it depends on how thick your bank account is, obviously. But
because they're taxis over there, so and they just race them. I mean, yeah.
All right. Well, for me, I'm going to stick with the golden rule, Japanese. And MX-5 does tick that box definitely. If you can find one for that amount of money, good luck. So,
Lancer.
Yeah, if you can find a reasonable 3-door Lancer, because coupe is probably the best place to start, because you can conceivably put a bigger engine in it, like the 2.4 litre model Lancer engines. They go in there with a bit of massaging. They will go in there. But if we're talking about a car that's off the shelf in standard form mostly, I would say things like Corolla Sportivo.
What?
Corolla Sportivo.
Oh, yes, I have seen those.
Mid-2000s. 1.8, same engine as a Celica, yes.
Yeah.
So a little bit of a body kit, mag wheels and stuff like that. Corolla Sportivo, they can be had for sort of $5,000-ish, depending on if you can find yourself a deal, obviously. Conversely, and I have one of these things, mid-2000s Celica, the last of them. I'll come back to that. Mazda 323 SP20 or Laser SR2, which is the 2-litre variant of the last of the Mazda 323 Ford Lasers, 5-door hatch, or you can get the 4-door sort of sedan thing. I think they were called, in the Mazda land, they were called the 323 Estina for the hatch, and the 323 Protege for the sedan.
I've got the Estina 4-door and it's a big bucket of crap. But yeah, I suppose it's a performance version. would be
A
better.
lot of it obviously is
Piece of
dependent
crap I
upon
got.
the actual car. So this is the type of car we're talking about, not individual examples of cars, because obviously you can buy an absolute piece of crap in the
Mind
very
you,
best
I mean,
of
mine
cars,
is a piece
so-
of crap, but it is small, nimble, and does what it. I mean, it's an auto. 1.6.
Yeah, 1.6 auto. So it's
Auto?
the slow one.
It's
Yeah,
But I feel
they're a
cramped
bit
in it
slow.
because the door panel seems to be thicker on it than any other Jap car I've had, and it's like
That's a Mazda thing though. They
Yeah.
like to hem you in.
Yeah,
I do quite like it. I drive an MR2, so it doesn't.
yeah,
bother
but
me
I've
the
got
slightest.
boots on all the time, and but my boots literally like that. I can't stick it up because it jams inside the firewall. It's like I can't do that. I have to go.
My mother-in-law's got
Eh.
one, a hatch, and I do rather like
A
it.
hatch would probably be okay. I could put up with a hatch
Hmm.
because it was sportier than this bunky. I mean, I got mine for $400. But the thing is, I took it through Rego because it had South Oz Rego. I had to replace one front strut.
That's it.
That's it.
See, there you go. Japanese.
2 days later, I hit a ruin and had to replace the whole front end. But hey, it got through Rego. It's one
That's
strut.
just him then. So yeah, Mazda 323 SP20 Laser SR2. Back to the topic. Yeah, those.
Check my YouTube channel. It's on there.
Oh God. Maybe some sort of Civic, but then the problem with Civics is that they had so many different engine sizes that you've got to be careful about the specification that you get, because I think that like this, there's a like the EG Civics and stuff
Yeah,
like
oh,
that. If you can find one.
Fanboys, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. Fanboys won't let go of them.
No, well, that's exactly right. Or they end up with, drivetrains from something entirely different in them.
Hi,
and stuff
Simon.
like that. If you could find a reasonable one, some sort of Integra,
Oh, up spec. Yeah.
maybe. The DC5s are more plentiful than the DC2s. So the DC5 is the mid 2000s one. The DC2 is like the 90s one.
Yeah, but the Integra has got all the added extras, the fancy car, so heavier
Yeah.
as a truck car.
But they're also the later ones are also 2 litre.
Oh,
If you get
so
a
it kind of
manual,
makes
they
up
do
for
well,
the-
and they do have a Type R variant, which I don't think you'll find for $5,000. But the Type S variant is nearly as good,
Okay.
and which is what most of them are, Type S's and stuff.
But
But
I suppose I never even
yeah,
thought
Integra.
of the Honda Civics. I mean,
Mhm.
I should because everyone races, spoon engines and blah blah blah, Fast and the Furious, Honda Civics,
Mhm. Exactly.
and
Um,
fanboys are everywhere. It's like, oh yeah, I guess I've just
Prelude?
never- Oh, too heavy,
Yeah,
luxury heavy.
but if you
Yeah,
wanted
but-
a car to take to the track and have a bit of fun with, you could conceivably entertain the notion of a Prelude.
Oh, speaking of which,
Mhm.
send it my. I've got so many cars I forget.
Oh,
I fucking got
Here we
them.
go.
I got a 1975, 76 Honda Prelude.
Oh, first gen.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. There you go.
Twin carb.
Yeah,
Electric windows.
yeah. They're good
Sunroof.
cars. They're good cars.
Rusty piece of crap.
What colour is it?
I don't think it has a colour anymore. It's just it's sitting in the bush. I don't know. I mean,
Oh,
I
okay.
walk past it, just sits there. And I did have it running at one stage and do the old, 5 acre. Fun.
Yeah, they're good
Definitely
cars.
fun.
Mm.
Twin carb.
Mm.
Boom. Off goes. Lost all its water, so it'd overheat. 10 minutes of fun, I'll park it up again.
Ah.
But the interior is just manky.
Is it?
It's gone manky.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, those interiors do not sit well once they get a bit of water in them.
No, of course not.
It's manky. I've been thinking about strip because the whole car's complete and it runs. They got the 4-wheel steer on them.
Yeah, right.
It's one of the first gen, I think, of the 4-wheel steers.
Okay,
And it's just, this could be fun for autocross.
maybe.
Really, instead of the XL,
Mm.
run the Civic.
Well,
Or
there you
Honda.
go. There you
Honda,
go.
Civic, Honda
Prelude.
What did Prelude?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it could do, but definitely strip that interior because it is just manky. But yeah, I've got it sitting there. So my God, I've got a Honda Prelude.
There you go. So you could probably have that for under 5,000.
Please,
Definitely have
please
that for under
buy it.
5,000.
It's just sitting there in the way. Takes up a spot. I can park another shell.
I would have to say though, in terms of performance and drivability and cost, if you can find one, last generation Celica. Did briefly touch on this before. I owned one. I bought it cheap, fixed it up, sold it a bit more expensive than what I paid for it. But that car in every single way, except for maybe outright powered away.
Do you have a 3SG, 3 GSE?
2ZZ GE with the variable lift and variable timing.
Okay.
So same motor as in the Corolla Sportivo.
Oh.
But it weighs 100 kilos less.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
That car, because I bought one that was quite broken and I fixed it, especially when the oil looked like the consistency of Kiwi black boot polish. Yeah, exactly. But fixed it, drove it, loved it. But the problem was that it took so long to fix, because I parked it somewhere I couldn't get access to it all the time. And 3, admittedly, I got very sick and tired of putting money into it to try and fix it. But that car had 8 oil changes in like 2 weeks to try and flush
Oh,
it out
yes, I think
like
I remember you telling me about this, yes, to get rid of the crap in it.
Yeah. But when I was done, that car was fantastic. I would recommend anybody, because,
What year Celica's are these?
So this is 98 to 2005.
Yeah, okay.
It's the last shape. They're all very angular and stuff like that. Now,
yes, I think I know the one. Yeah.
they're an acquired taste, but the thing is, I really like the way they look. I think they're fantastic cars. But look, I've owned,
Says the guy who owns one of these.
whatever, at least it
Acquired
runs.
taste.
At least it runs.
Hey.
Anyway, so having owned a Honda Integra DC2 Type R, which is widely regarded to be the best front-wheel drive car ever.
Fanboy hierarchy.
Yep. And having owned the Celica equivalent, but admittedly a little bit older, 2005.
Yep.
The Celica I find is the better car.
Okay.
One, because it has 6 speeds, not 5. The DC2 is 5 speeds, which meant that as a daily driving proposition on the freeway, 100 k's an hour is 3,500 RPM in fifth. It's too high, and because they put special
and a lot of the new
glass
cars
in it.
are like that.
Yeah,
because they want you to get off the line quick, so it's nippy, snappy, but then you're sitting at 100k on the freeway limit, it's 3,500 rounds, 3,300, and
No, but that car, because it was the Type R, it had like the lighter weight wheels, they were 5-stud wheels, had the better brakes, the better handling and stuff, special thin glass, had almost no sound deadening in it whatsoever.
Fanboy.
Yeah, and as a consequence of
you
that...
can put up with everything that's wrong with it because you really love that car.
I wasn't prepared to.
Yeah.
That's why it went. And to be perfectly honest, it was a very good car to drive, and I drove it on the track a couple of times. Short course at a local track near the airport here, and RSC Driving Centre or whatever it was back then, and it was very good on the track, but on the road, no. On a long trip, couldn't do it. But conversely, the Celica. Now, this is going to be obviously an unpopular opinion because the Honda fanboys unite, and oh my god, my
Integra. My XL was brilliant. If I was, short, if I had to drive a long way, I went to Celica in it once and
would do it. Celica would do it. 6-speed, so same engine size, very similar power output. Now, admittedly, the Celica wasn't as quick as the Honda, as the Integra Type R, but you had sound deadening. It was a comfortable place to be, and it felt like a much more solid car. The doors were heavier. They had a nice, solid, aristocratic thump when you closed them and stuff. Yeah. And as a car, as an experience, it was better.
Okay.
And it didn't feel that much slower, to be perfectly honest. And it probably was. Like, if you were to put the cars on the track or whatever and drive them, sort of side by side or whatever, yeah, the Integra
Plus the oral thing of just having a car like the Honda, which is just a tin shell, and you're fanging it, and it sounds loud.
It climbs up onto the VTEC, and then it just starts.
And all the windows are running, and the panels are going, it must be going really fast.
Yeah.
Whereas you do it in the Celica, and it's like, this is quite comfortable. I'm going just as fast.
Yeah. And the thing with the Celica, though, and this is something that I noticed, is that the Celica climb, because it had their VTEC, which is VVTIL, it's a variable lift and timing, much like how the VTEC works in the Integras and stuff, it was more noticeable in the Toyota.
Oh.
Like, it was a bigger power jump, I found. At least for my 2 cars it was. So,
you didn't have any extras on the engine?
No. Standard engine. And what I had to do, I mean, I obviously did a lot of work to clean it out and stuff like that, and everything. Serviced it.
Freed up the horsepower.
Exactly right.
Freed up the horsepower.
And
get rid of all the niggles.
It was nearly impossible to hill start that car in the wet without spinning the wheels.
Oh, in the Celica.
In the Celica. The Integra wasn't so much of a problem. I think maybe because it was 5-speed or something like that. But in the Celica, all the ratios were much closer. So, second was first. Second was really first in a 5-speed car, and then
first was
fourth was third, and it was like plus each gear. So I didn't put it into sixth much, but sixth felt like fifth. Just more gears, more work.
Oh, okay, yeah. So it's sort of like a point
sort of thing.
1.076, I think is what an overdrive gearbox is.
But they felt.
So your fifth gear was almost a 1-to-1, and then your sixth gear was your overdrive at 0.0676.
I think it was something preposterous like fifth being 0.96 or something like that, and then sixth being like 0.882 or something like that.
Oh, so not even
Yeah. So it wasn't really like.
So it wasn't really good overdrive, but it was enough.
It was enough, and having the sixth, I mean. The Integra Type R, the DC2 in particular, I believe needs another gear, needs a sixth gear in order to be something that you can live with. But the fact is that I believe that the Celica was the better all-round car, but the Integra was probably the better track car. I mean, I would subscribe to the fact that the Integra Type R, the DC2 model, the one that I had and a lot of people got, would have to be probably the best handling front-wheel drive car of all time. Yes, for sure. But the Celica
There's a lot of track. I think even MCM did the same. One of those, didn't they?
But that Celica is nearly as good for not as nearly as much money.
And if you're going to have a daily car that you drive to the track and do that sort of stuff to have fun,
that's Celica.
It's
honestly,
better all round.
I would recommend anybody buy one of those
if you can find them.
Oh, you can. I mean, mine when I bought it was $4,000. I did fix up a lot of things on it though. But you can buy them for around $5,000.
Okay.
Manual. Get the ZR though. If you're going to buy one of those cars, buy the ZR. Because they have ABS. The SX versions do not have ABS. That's a little known fact.
Do you need the ABS though? Is it a real advantage in the cars?
That Toyota ABS is very, very good. I've got it in the MR2, and it is not nearly as intrusive, and it is very, very hard to activate it on the track.
Oh, okay.
So you're not locking up anything.
Yeah.
If you're... Okay, let's say if you can drive, you're not going to have a problem with the ABS in those cars at all. Well, the DC2 Type R had ABS as well. So, but the little known fact is that those Celicas, not all of them had ABS. So the SX version, which was the standard one, doesn't have ABS, but the ZR does.
Okay.
Fun fact. Boring, but fun fact for me. Anyway. So anyway, I think that's probably it, We talked enough crap for one show, haven't we? Something like that?
Yeah. Hit an hour, I think. Again. Why not?
Try and get two old car cranks to shut up, eh?
Yeah, exactly.
Good luck.
Yes.
So, thank you again.
All right,
and
my pleasure.
Thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe, all of that stuff. Or leave a nasty comment if that's what you want to do too.
Go to Dodgee's Garage and have a look at what I did. I don't do anymore, but give me encouragement anyway, because I might do something again.
Hey,
maybe
make a video.
Oh, I should.
What are you doing?
I don't know.
You could do a web blog on your way home. You've got half an hour. You can stick your phone up in the corner there and go, "Hi, driving the Z3. Look at the wind going through my hair and beard." Yes. I just come from that dodgy bloke, Dr. Dave's garage.
Dodgy.
There you
The
go.
phone doesn't even sit in the thing, and I don't have a holder for it, and it's an S8.
Right. Okay.
Nah.
Maybe not then.
Nah.
Oh well. Catch you next time. Bye. See ya.